Hello, hello, Bijan here again. I'm back, and, chapter 4 is finished! Yay! But also, there is, unfortunately, a, downside. We have a chapter 5 now, and it's something. It's definitely something. It's the biggest dump I've ever taken in my life. So, we are going to go over, chapter 4. So I'm not really editing at this point. My goal here is to organize my thoughts on things that I, wasn't able to say. Because, before I knew it, this is the first time I've written something. This never happens to me. I am the least creative person in the world. So I just started writing, and everything just, kind of came to me. It's just, I formed my own world around everything, and none of it is canon. It appeared, and, now I have all these ideas that I was not able to get, onto paper, because this is Azzypants' story. This is an Azrael story, and, writing Azrael's story would be very, very difficult, because, Azzypants is a comedy. Azrael's is more of a tragedy, but there's a lot of thoughts that I had in my head, so let us look at this mess. Please excuse me, I don't know what I'm doing. I need to jump into this before before I melt of embarrassment. So let us go. Chapter 4. Oh, Undyne! I don't know what Undyne is like. I just know the battle dialogue because I died like a million times. I am not good with her attack style, with the reverse arrows and everything. I am very dyslexic. I don't know my left from my right as it is, and I panicked. And I know the whole thing about facing the danger head on, and I know the whole thing about green, and I know the thing about running away because I've done this like a million times. But other than that, I don't remember anything of what Undyne is like, and that harkened back to Electron Faucon, where Undyne was just whatever. So I kind of channeled that. Like, I don't even care. Let's just get through it. Like, so anyway, what voice? Hold it right there, punk. Azrael visibly seized up as if he'd been caught doing something he shouldn't have. Azzypants instinctively raised his hands up to his shoulders, as if to gesture that he was innocent. But it was a common thing for him to be busted. The more worrisome issue was that Az seemed to have a guilty conscience about something. Did he actually get into trouble while Azzypants ran off? Shouldn't be. He barely had that guy out of his sights. Officer Undyne, how good it is to see you. If it isn't Asgore's kid, the one that can take a beating. Azrael, right? You wouldn't be getting up to any trouble, would you? I'm just enjoying the con with my friend. There's so much to choose from, it's hard to decide what to get. Undyne took a good hard look at Azzypants, whom she most assuredly should have remembered from before. The tense atmosphere caused him to fidget under the scrutiny. It shouldn't be that someone actually reported him for having his pants down in the adults-only area. Is this punk really one of your friends? Azzypants definitely didn't want to drag Azrael into another one of his messes. At least this time, he could take some responsibility for himself. Besides, what was the worst that could happen? Him getting locked up for a few days? It would only serve as a nice vacation from work. I guess that depends on who you ask. Pizza Pants, don't be such a jokester. He's my good friend. How have you been, Chief? Some little birdie told me that you got a new truck the other day. Don't get too cocky and go around joyriding. If I catch you running a green light, you won't be able to escape. You'll have no choice but to face the danger of a head-on collision, and if you dare run, I'll chase you down and gnaw off your leg again. Take a real bite out of crime. Brings back fond memories. Don't green lights? Azzypants stammered, but Azrael quickly nudged him. Right, I will make sure to obey all traffic laws, and I'll keep an eye out for any suspects that have no alibi. Come on, Pizza Pants, I think I saw replicas of anime weapons over there. Over that way. Heading over that way myself, kid. It's been nice seeing you. Azrael wasted no time grabbing Azzypants' arm and dragging him off in the complete opposite direction. What was that, Azzy? Just what the hell was that? Why was she even more aggressive to you than she is to me? Also, what was that about gnawing your leg off? She didn't actually gnaw off your leg, right? You've still got the leg up on everyone else as far as I can see. Was it just an expression? Officer Undine is, well, she's not quite herself today. She must be in a good mood. She's definitely not herself. Definitely not herself. Just what about that encounter indicated she was in a good mood? Was she the kind of person to always threaten people with possible dismemberment when she was happy? A happy clamper? How about something that sounds like an answer? What was all that about? What happened to your leg? Care to elaborate? My dad helped train her when he stepped down from being chief. They were running out of mailmen. Since I do cross-country, I can run for long distances and my speed isn't half bad. And because of my genetics, my injuries do heal abnormally quickly. Hold up! What are you telling me? Your dad brought you in to be target practice for Undine? Okay, sure, you're good at running, but that doesn't explain the leg thing. How did she end up gnawing off your leg, huh? Was she training to be a police dog? Running around on all fours and taking a huge chunk out of your leg when you were caught? You can't skimp out on this kind of thing. The details, Azzy. Don't forget to give me all the juicy details. Nothing. By now, Burger Pants was fully convinced that Azrael could read his thoughts, but that guy still wouldn't budge an inch unless he received a push. You're quite the player, huh? She had her mouth all over you, too. Just how many times have you been bitten? I wouldn't put it that way at all, but since you asked, let's see. I remember one time I was feeding my aquatic friend that lives over by my dad's house. They became a little too eager and grazed my hand by accident, and, another time I helped a neighbor kid get down from a tree because they had no arms. They bit onto my back as a way to hold on. And there was also the incident with the nurse at the hospital. She didn't really... He couldn't help but zone out the length of that list. Azrael was apparently a lot more popular than Burger Pants initially thought. What was he, the village bicycle? The town chew toy? Had this guy been bitten by every single person in hometown, aside from him? Was all that stuff Azrael said that night just for the purpose of having Burger Pants tooth-marked off his list? Azrael sighed. A black miasma clouded his atmosphere. Why is it that, no matter what I do, the people I care about always end up hurting me? Oh, it's not as if he asked for something like this to happen. If you think about it, it's actually kind of tragic. So maybe he's cursed too. They were both born under unlucky stars. Burger Pants suffers from humiliations, one after the other, and his reputation will never be anything great. That's his cross to bear. By now, it's happened so often, it barely crossed his mind. But it might not be the same for Azrael, who, by the look on his face, seems to be taking it as some kind of predetermined punishment, like some kind of cosmic comeuppance. Well, that's all right. He's not alone in this world. Luckily for him, Burger Pants can definitely empathize. Yes, they had a lot in common. They were cursed commiserators, forsaken friends, bad break bros. He was the perfect shoulder for Azzy to lean on. All right, buddy, let's go get you a drink. My treat, okay? Burger Pants clasped his arm around Az's back and steered them toward the outdoor pavilion. Oh yeah, earlier in the scene, we had Undine pretty much barge in at the front of the chapter. I didn't want to transition. So pretty much Az and Burger Pants were, doing their con things. And this is like a little bit of a time skip where they're just like walking around and then they get this encounter. We see that Burger Pants raises up his hands to his shoulders, signifying that he does not have the bag in his hands at this moment. He loses this bag. We have this confrontation and we can see how Azrael interacts with different townfolk, and we know, we can see that Undine is a bit of a challenge for him to handle. He's not very good with people who are very forthright, and unfortunately, that's a lot of hometown. A lot of hometown has these wacky characters who are extremely forthright. Oh, poor Azrael. I was talking with my friend about the whole, about the whole biting kink thing, and we came to this realization that almost all of the girls in hometown have fangs, and who has, like, the best fangs, but, Undyne. So I think he's got a little bit of a phobia there. Well, maybe not a phobia, but he's got a little bit of an issue with fangs. And, he's always been inclined toward those teeth. So I think it kind of plays into his psychological profile, I'll just call it. Anyway, Undyne is not somebody that he can handle easily, and he obviously has been taken advantage of by this person before. She just cannot take a hint and let Azriel off the hook. So I think it's funny to see somebody who proves more of a challenge for Azriel. And we can see that Burger Pants obviously notices Azriel's discomfort and tries to take up for him. Of course, that doesn't work with Undyne. You don't mess around with Undyne. So Azriel kind of bails him out of that situation. And then there's the whole reveal that, Azriel has pretty much been, as I put it, the town chew toy. Like, every single time that something can go wrong, it will go wrong, and it will happen to Azriel as well. So we get that reveal that, no, it's not just Burger Pants with the horrible luck, it's also Azriel who keeps getting bitten by everyone, and then somewhere along the way, it kind of twists him. So, I'm sowing the seeds here, I think. Oh, and I also sowed the seeds for the whole Asgore thing. I did not put it in the fic. I desperately wanted to put the Asgore thing in the fic. It was so stupid, y'all. It was so stupid. I wanted it so badly. So I hinted at it. I hinted at it with the truck, and I hinted at it here, that, Azriel has some qualms about the issue that happened, and also I'm going to hint about it later in Chapter 5, and I think I will be talking about Chapter 5, so there will be kind of spoilers, because there's a lot of things that happen. Well, there's a lot of things that already happened that kind of hint at what's going to happen in Chapter 5. Here, ooh boy, there's just so much, baby. We gotta go, let's just go. Stalls of all sorts littered the outside of the building, trying their best to escape the reach of the scorching midday sun. Little picnic benches and stone seatings were dotted all around the area, the only shade being whatever was covered by the awning or underneath one of the copious amounts of trees. There was a short queue in front of each shop, but it was nowhere near as ridiculous as it would have been if they'd come at an earlier date. The atmosphere of this place wasn't half bad. The outdoors made a nice change of pace. It was a lovely day outside. Birds were chirping, and the slight breeze blowing through made the temperature bearable. The two looked for a secluded seat in a shaded area. They've got quite a variety. See anything you want? I'll have whatever you're having. How do I say this? That would be kind of boring. I only drink water. I can't handle my booze, and I've got a bit of a cat's tongue, so hot and cold drinks are out. Yay, foreshadowing about the teeth. I think we have different definitions of boring. Water quenches a thirst best, in my experience. Azriel mused, speaking with such affection that it made Burger Pants turn away in embarrassment. That guy. Something about him always makes it seem like he's talking in doublespeak. Azriel really did seem otherworldly, like the whole town was eating out of the palm of his hand. It wasn't hard for... If someone got on his bad side, it wasn't hard for Az to kill him with kindness. So what he said that night, about being able to interpret what everyone wanted, and feeling like he had to be the backbone of support to the town, it would conveniently be explained by having known everyone in the past life. In a way, it made some sense. However, it was a hard pill to swallow. A complete change in his worldview. A past life was something Burger Pants never had any need to think of. Forget the past. He couldn't even bother with the future of his current life. Yay, he has no plans for the future right now. As for Azriel, it seemed like his future was tightly bound to that of his previous life. Rather, he had been trying to escape it. Every one of his loved ones was just another rope to tie him down to a life of pretending to be in character. A puppet for everyone's convenience. It's not like Burger Pants couldn't understand the logic, because he related to it way too much. The problem was that he, too, was one of those about to be cast aside in the name of Azrael's self-discovery. No matter how he thought of it, he couldn't help but feel bitter. But all his saltiness was also in sharp contrast to the feelings he harbored in the name of friendship. He'd had an exclusive sneak peek at what laid under the hood, and Azrael Dreamer was a Category 5 hurricane that would take the whole world by storm. Such potential was something Burger Pants had always dreamed of, and if anyone was able to live out his dreams, it would definitely be Az. Without a doubt, he wholeheartedly wished for his friend's happiness. He truly did. But a part of him was still desperate for his own selfish slice of satisfaction, and that kind of contentment was something only Azzy could give him. However, he'd already known since long ago that wishing upon stars was always in vain. Burger Pants returned with the 2 water bottles and sat next to Azrael, offering him one. At least for now, they still had time. He should cherish it while it lasts. So, Azzy, what's your major? Do you have any plans on what you want to do in the future? I thought you already knew. It never mattered. University is just an acceptable excuse to get away for a while, and it's a good time for me to leave. Chris is now past the age of what they were when the calamity happened in the other lifetime. So it seems that, most likely, the time frame has already ended. The worst problem for me now is monotony and boredom. It really will be the death of me. And there it was. It didn't matter if they were in public or not. Azrael casually brought up talks of past life just like that. Maybe he and Burger Pants did actually share a brainwave after all. They were on the same page for the most part. They always had been like 2 sides of the same coin. Is that why his life was always such a toss-up? Supposing that they were 2 sides of the same accursed coin, it would help explain why Azrael could always keep his head up, while Burger Pants had no choice but to keep his tail between his legs. Well, if you need any help packing or moving, just let me know. I'd be more than happy to. Of course he would be more than happy to. It would give him a chance to learn where the guy was going to be living. Once he could save up enough money, he could just invite himself over to Az's place. I don't really plan on bringing anything with me. It would just give away what day I'm leaving. I want to make a clean break. Start over somewhere new. Oh, yeah, sure. Saying goodbye is always hard to do, especially when there's so many people that care about you. Just make sure to bring your phone and keep it charged. That way we can stay in contact. I'm not planning on bringing my phone either. I don't want to constantly be reminded of the people I'm leaving behind. As it is now, I can't be myself and they're Azrael. I can't help but care about everyone. It's always been my choice to live up to their expectations. Because I wanted to make them happy too. It's really frustrating. Maybe after leaving for a few years, the others can finally accept that I grew up and things will be better. Only time can tell. But for now, I need some time to breathe. This definitely changes things. So the time that they have left together isn't for certain, since Azrael is planning on leaving on short notice. Also, he doesn't want to keep in contact, which really hurts. Maybe he should be grateful that Az let him know ahead of time, but it didn't make him feel any better right now. The mood completely plummeted. He couldn't help but be disappointed. Everything felt so final all of a sudden, like this chapter of his life was coming to an end before he could even begin to read it. Right? What about them as a couple? It was no easy decision on his part to accept the unhinged idea that they should get together for the very brief period right before they parted. If Azrael was a player, Burger Pants was definitely the kind to play for keeps. While he felt that he should be grateful that Az wanted to play the game with him at all, and he knew that a closed mouth doesn't get fed, it still made him grind the teeth in his empty mouth. It was like slapping his own self in the face. He'd begrudgingly climbed up this far off the beaten path, yet he was still forced to turn around before the second half of the game. The road to hell truly was paved in good intentions. Well then, if that's how it was, why should he care? They were just using each other, wasn't that it? It was all fun and games that meant nothing, so he shouldn't let it mean anything to him either. Azrael Dreamer, if you're really gonna skip town just like that, I'm gonna find myself a girlfriend as soon as you leave. Such a threat was only met with laughter and an infuriatingly handsome smile. If you can manage to do so, please, introduce her to me first. This asshole had the nerve to be openly condescending about this. He was definitely looking down on him, toying with him like a yo-yo. Az wasn't upset at all. What, did he believe that Burger Pants was too pathetic to get a girlfriend on his own? Forget making waves. His threats of disloyalty held no water here. In that case, it's just what he needs to push himself off the deep end. By this time next year, he absolutely needs to get a girlfriend. He'll find a real cutie pie, too, just so he could savor the feeling of smushing it in that scumbag's face. Ha! And who should I introduce you as? It's none of your business anyway, since we're apparently cutting ties. Despite everything that was being said, that gentle, sentimental smile had not been wiped off of Azrael's face. I'll leave a way for you to contact me. Just make sure to watch over Chris in my absence, okay? Damn, that asshole used his killer move again, talking in a soft voice. Well, it was hard not to be mad at him. It was just as hard to stay mad at him. Burger Pants looked down at the water bottle in his hand thoughtfully. Azrael Dreamer was his weakness. There was no way he could fight against him, as much as he wanted to show that guy his place. Just a few simple words, he'd fallen hook, line, and sinker. And Az knew he already had him in the bag. An explosion went off in Burger Pants' brain as he looked down at his hands again. No way! It couldn't be! The whirl of thoughts sounding alarm in his head almost made him dizzy. He stood up hastily, no longer caring about the bottle of water, as it crashed on the floor, and he circled around in place, searching desperately. It wasn't here! It really wasn't here! Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit! Where did he last have it? When was the last time he remembered having it? He definitely remembered the moment Azrael gave it to him, but he couldn't remember what happened to it after that. That's right. If Azrael hadn't given it to him, wouldn't it be safe in his possession right now? I'm sorry, I have to talk about it. We have that comic, the comic I hinted at before. I never talked about the comic in depth. There were 3 things that really inspired me to make the comic what it was. Okay, so we have the ghost puns, possession, and spooked. And also there is the biggest thing, which is ghosting. It's kind of a metaphor, again with the metaphors, but Azrael is handing him this bag, and it's pretty much ghosting him. He intends to ghost him. That's what he has decided to this point, is that he is going to leave Burger Pants in this world. Okay, we're going to back it up a little bit. I'm so sorry, but this is what this video is all about. We go back to the bag scene. And Burger Pants is just kind of like, yo, dude, this is way too much. You're putting all this heavy load on me. I can't comprehend everything. If you're going to move in, just do it one bag at a time, because I can't handle all this shit. And Azrael's like, move in? Like, you're really considering having a relationship with me? Oh, that changes things, because I thought there was no chance in hell. But if that's the case, then, well, why not go for it? I definitely wouldn't want to leave without taking advantage of that. So that's when they kind of get together, and that kind of changes Azrael's plans, because the first night, I'm so sorry, y'all, we are getting into spoilers. Well, not spoilers, I don't really go into it. But the first night, that one night, so Azrael had just confessed that his past life made him feel extreme resentment towards Chris, and he was thinking about harming Chris as soon as he saw them, because he kind of had that soul connection, that pang in his soul, warning him of the danger. So just for a brief second, he thinks about, getting rid of Chris, which of course he immediately second guesses. He's not that kind of person after all. But Burger Pants wasn't expecting this at all. Like, it comes out of left field, and he remembers from his interactions just how scary Azzy is. And right now, Azriel is very scary because Azriel doesn't have, like, the best intentions. He's overwhelmed. He's actually scared in this moment. But we see his thoughts are one thing, but he tries to still smooth things over with Azriel. He still cares about Azriel. He still kind of mommies him and tries to come up with some kind of thing he can say to calm his friend down. And what he winds up saying is, you're not the kind of guy that would just kill someone like that. You put yourself in their shoes. You know what it's like to be, like, the small weak one and somebody looming over you. Maybe you were drawn to them because, you remembered what that feeling was like. And then Burger Pants kind of thinks about it, because that's not why he was drawn to Azriel. He was drawn to Azriel because Azriel was everything that he wanted to be. So then he adds in, or, maybe we're drawn to people that we admire and want to be like. And that hits a chord with Azriel, because that's pretty much true. Azriel in this fic, and this fic only, wants to be Chris. He wants to be the human, the one who makes all the decisions, the one that goes unnoticed, the one that doesn't have to live up to high expectations, the one that can pretty much get away with anything. And that, pretty much, that gives him a lot to think about. Burger Pants gets him in a way that Burger Pants shouldn't get him. Like, this guy has no clue what's going on, but he's still trying, and it's still working out. So Azriel kind of mulls it over and decides, no, I'm not going to take Burger Pants by force, and I'm not going to push the issue anymore. I'm just going to see how far I can go with this, because now this situation has become fun, right? Now it's not the unwilling Burger Pants and his own selfish desires. It's kind of like, oh, well, maybe I could just go deeper with this, see how much this guy will, see how this guy will react when I tell him what's really going up, which of course, he holds back some punches, for sure. He definitely holds back some punches that he does not hold back anymore, after this chapter. So, whew, boy, we got into the ghosting issue. That was just the ghosting issue. So right, at this point, because Burger Pants is able to just roll with the punches and willing to be around Azriel and wants to hang out with him, and now the addition to a possible relationship, Azriel has kind of let go of his thoughts of bringing Burger Pants along without knowing what the implications of that are. Now he's got some hope that he can actually trust Burger Pants, but not a lot, because we see that he does lie a little bit when Burger Pants gives him some resistance earlier with the whole university thing. Burger Pants really does believe that Azriel is going off to college. And Burger Pants is actually a little bit jealous that Azriel is going off to college. So he kind of placates him by saying, oh, yeah, maybe I'll come back in a few years, you know. It's not all that bad. You just live your life here. Because Burger Pants now has a role in the world. He works now. He works at Icy's Pizza. So, he is given NPC status, pretty much. He is protected by the deity in that world. As in, if Chris was going to kill him, it probably wouldn't happen because he is the shop NPC, or at least that's the one that's most probable to be the shop NPC in Icy's. So it's not like Azriel can just skip off to a dark world anymore. Now he's, like, in contention with God, pretty much. So, yes, he decides that ghosting is the best course of action. And then we also have the split into 3 equal parts. That is kind of a nod to the 3 soul theory, but is more it's more of a reference to how there are 3 separate worlds in this universe, and this universe only. The world that they are currently in is one of the 3 possible worlds that came to be when, in Undertale, the events of Undertale, pretty much, Flowey, the hopes and dreams of the town folk, all possessed by Flowey, created the perfect world. This is one of those worlds. This is the one that's the best. This is the world that Azrael is protecting, the one that he's looking over. This is the one that's for him. This is his playground. This is the one that has the best outcome. We see that there are many people living as they've wanted to be. We see that Chris is older. We see that everyone, well, not everyone, but almost everyone is living in their ideal state. Oh, that's another thing about ghosts. I've got to put it out there. In Undertale, with what little knowledge Flowey had about Burger Pants, there was one thing that ran true, and it's that Burger Pants really hated his boss. He really freaking hated Mettaton. He was so freaking jealous of Mettaton. It was absolutely hilarious, honestly. And in this world, we see that we see that Mettaton isn't living up to their full self, isn't living up to their full potential, isn't living out their dream, while everybody else is pretty much living out their dream. So we get a little bit of a little bit of a slight from Azrael here, not taking Mettaton's hand and leading him towards his dream. And not only that, we have a little bit of competition. So we definitely don't want them to get close either. We definitely don't want Mettaton to get close to Burger Pants either. So there's another issue with the ghost thing. Burger Pants is looking at ghost porn, pretty much, and there was this whole thing with a ghost in his previous life. So we definitely want to keep those 2 things separated. And about the 3 worlds. I'm jumping all over the place. About the 3 worlds. Am I recording? What was I saying? Oh, the 3 worlds. The 3 worlds. We see in this fic, and in this fic only, that Azrael possesses all 3 things from all 3 worlds. We have the ID, that'll come up a little bit later. In fact, it's right there. I can already see the word ID on my page. We have the ID. We have the blood-stained, ripped-up track uniform. Well, it's a cross-country shirt that Undyne had ripped up from the police chief training. And we have, what was the 3rd item? Oh my god, the coupon book. Of course, we have the coupon book. So, Azrael is in possession of all 3 significant items from those 3 worlds. And getting back to the point about the whole Mettaton and the ghost and gotta keep them separated thing, Miss Boo is pretty much the role that Azrael fills in this world. Azrael is leading everyone and making sure that they are their true selves and they're living happily. The lion in the diner and the rabbit and the dragon couple. And even though Asgore is eternally divorced, he is the most divorced person in the world, but even then, he still gets to live out his dream of being a gardener and pruning the rose bushes outside of the school, and Toriel gets to be a teacher. Everybody is pretty much living out their dreams, which is what Miss Boo was to everyone in that comic. And in the comic, the 3 worlds the 3 divided characters have to become whole in order to, anyway, I don't have to get into the whole 3 worlds becoming whole here. We are just talking about this timeline and this world. So anyway, that was the whole thing. That was a lot to say. That the ghost thing meant something. It had some meaning. It wasn't just ghost porn. It was Miss Boo being Azriel, and a bunch of ghost puns, and the pun about Azriel ghosting him or deciding to ghost him, and, well, the third world theory, and not really, but kind of hinting that Azriel has been to other worlds than this one, and this is the one he chose to stay in. Okay, alright. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Let's go. Okay, so, if Az hadn't given it to him, wouldn't it be safe in his possession about now? Was it a sign? Was fate telling him that they were cursed, doomed from the onset? Regardless, it was a precious memory of this trip with Azriel that he didn't want to soon forget. He absolutely must find that bag no matter what. No stone would be left unturned. He wouldn't stop until he searched every nook and cranny, every crook and nanny if he had to. And this goes to show that Burger Pants thought that this comic held a little bit more of a sentimental reason to him. This is a big step forward in his life. And even though it hasn't quite sunken in yet, he's kind of looking forward to it. This situation is a little bit fun for him, but then Azriel kind of bursts his bubble, and it's like, no, sorry, we're not gonna be in contact after this. It's not that Azriel didn't want to bring his cell phone, it's that, there'd be nothing but garbage noise, where he intended to go. Where he intended to go. We don't know if that's exactly where he's going now. But anyway, and the comic book just kind of slapped his face with the implications that, no, you're really not going to have this for very long. So that's why he's so panicked. Not only is it a souvenir, but it really is a metaphor for what the relationship is going to be like in the future. What's wrong? My bag! The bag! The comic is gone! I can't believe this! I can't believe I lost such an important thing! The look in Azriel's eyes glazed over with frost. I'll wait here if you want to go buy another. The only ID I have on me is the one from school. I don't think I'll be able to slip in the adults area again unnoticed. Azriel is so not into this. He is so not into it. He does not want Burger Pants to have the ghost porn. Az flashed the familiar badge, and that picture stirred up old memories. It was from the time when Chris was especially young and decided to cut Azriel's hair in his sleep. He'd cried the whole time leading up to getting the picture taken, but you never would have been able to tell with that goofy-looking smile on his face. He probably didn't cry in front of Chris just to spare their feelings. That was the kind of guy Azriel Dreamer had always been, and yes, there is a reason why Chris did cut his hair. And there is a certain event in their life that kind of brought the two, closer together, let them see eye to eye a little bit more, and, Chris kind of, fell into their own, stopped hiding all of their intentions, and started playing pranks, pretty much. Started doing whatever the hell Chris felt like doing, because something horrible happened to Chris that involved Azriel, and they kind of bonded over it. They kind of had this mutual trauma that only they knew about, that only they suffered through, and they kind of really became I guess friends, siblings, but friends after that time. But anyway, yes, Chris decided to get back at Azriel, vent their frustrations by cutting his hair, which Azriel did not like. Okay, anyway, wait, you drove us here and you didn't even bring your license? I don't need a license. My dad's an ex-cop. You privileged asshole! Oh, of course you wouldn't understand. I don't want to go buy another. I can buy a copy online. I want the one from earlier. The one you gave me. We made a whole scene about it and everything. That was my souvenir. The one good thing I had to remember today by. Now you're leaving, and I've got absolutely nothing. Well, I am flattered. I don't know how to feel. You using ghost porn to reminisce about me. Don't play dumb, idiot. Can't you read my thoughts? It's something special. I got the extra whine in my voice today. I'm just a whiny bitch today. Oh, language. I'm whiny today. Let's go. Azriel chuckled and got up from his seat, taking Burgerpants by the hand. Concerning your thoughts, I can only know what you want me to know. Lucky for me, you're quite expressive. Okay, I'll help you look for it. Let's go back to the main hall. You dog, Azriel, you freaking dog. Ooh, well, it started off as a panic-stricken Burgerpants running through the aisles in search of the bag. Somewhere along the way, his pace slowed down. While the book was a very important cherished item that symbolized the first step into a relationship, it didn't amount to anything if they spent all their time together looking for it. They were here already, after all. They should relax and enjoy themselves. Also, the odds of him finding and getting back an autographed copy of an adults-only work in a busy convention was pretty much slim to none. He had to cut his losses and hold on to what really mattered right now, before that too slipped out of his hands. Plus, there was a plethora of interesting things here to distract them. The pair had just wandered into the entertainment area when a familiar theme song made Burgerpants' ears twitch. He curiously glanced over that way, as if led by fuzzy memories. Not far off from where they were, a large display was set up for the motion control fighting rhythm game Ute, which was quite popular right now. Also, except I actually don't know what also. I've heard people talk about also. It's not also, it's freaking, we Just Dance. The Wii game, Just Dance. I don't know. I don't play these games. But it's its own thing. It's its own thing. Anyway, he was surprised to see that it hadn't drawn in much of a crowd at all. He'd always wanted to try playing it, but couldn't afford that kind of motion control setup at home. Besides, given how accident-prone he was, motion controls would more than likely doom his house into destruction. He felt tempted to stop and check it out, but it would feel weird having Azriel in tow. You want to give it a try? We could do co-op. No way. Given my track record and the, pants situation that happened earlier, I'd only be an embarrassment to you. Trust me, I can't be embarrassed when I'm next to you. You're embarrassing enough for the two of us. Burgerpants gave him a playful whack. This guy, he knew exactly what he was saying. Fine, I'd love to see the stupid look on your face when my pants come down. As soon as the words came out of his mouth, he wanted to cram them back in. He didn't need Az's sarcastic quirk of the eyebrow to let him know what he just said was not the most thought out. Do you remember the opening to Icarus Ranger? There was no way he couldn't have known it. The show was explosively popular back when they were children. It was a cultural phenomenon. Every kid their age used to play Icarus Rangers on the playground. Burgerpants himself had practiced the opening routine over and over again until he reached perfection. Even though it had been years now, and he was most likely rusty, perhaps even a little crusty, it was baked into him. You could say he was ready to roll. While Burgerpants didn't have anything substantial to back up his sudden burst of confidence, only his pride, he desperately wanted to prove something to Azriel. Even if it was just once. Even if he was bluffing with an empty hand. One could not win anything if they didn't put anything up on the line. The stakes were high, but high risk yielded high reward. Besides, he was a natural showman. If these 2 minutes of a song were to be his 15 minutes of fame, then he'd gladly risk it all to impress that smug son of a bitch. Yay, this should be the first son of a bitch. Burgerpants is scared of Toriel. He does not have Burgerpants does not have nice things to say about Toriel. Anyway, let's keep going. Alas, thinking of doing something and actually doing them were two different things entirely. As soon as it became their turn to play, Burgerpants suddenly got cold feet. While he was usually good at thinking on his feet, he couldn't help but break out into cold sweat as he studied the players before them and calculated his odds. There was not a one-to-one translation between the game's moveset and the choreography from the opening numbers. It almost seemed like co-op was a lot harder to pull off, since each player had different moves to play off each other. It was more like a graded improvisation than it was a feat of muscle memory, and it was a lot more complicated than it needed to be. As I think I really might embarrass you after all. What's this? There's no reason to stop if I give you a green light, right? I don't care what the others think. I want to enjoy myself. no stopping at a green light. Yes, that's it exactly. Why hadn't he thought of it before? This whole time, Azrael had been giving him a green light, and every time without fail, he backpedaled. He clearly must mean something to Az, since the guy was willing to spend time with him. And earlier, Azzy did say boredom and monotony were his greatest enemies. So by that logic, he must enjoy hanging out with Burger Pants, somehow. Plus, that guy always described everything as fun, so it must be true. It was definitely a compliment Burger Pants didn't feel he deserved. But it was enough to click in his brain and make some sense of the whole situation. Yeah, they definitely had fun when they were together. Let the whole world be damned! He grabbed the controllers and fastened them on tightly for extra security and prayed that they wouldn't go flying off in the middle of their round. He took in a deep breath. This feeling was just like stage fright. It probably would have been better if they'd started off with a warm-up or a practice round, but it's not like they were leisurely playing at home and could afford to do so. This really was off-the-cuff bullshitting at its finest, but thankfully, Burger Pants wasn't exactly a stranger to that kind of thing. As the nostalgic melody filled his ears, the movements etched into his muscle memory flashed through his head. He got into position as he heard the sirens in the background, syncing in time with the bass, forming a beat that would soon escalate quickly. I don't know about music. Almost all I know about music is musicals. I can't read sheet music. I don't know the terms. I don't know any of that. I just know what my friends rant to me about. The circle of fists or whatever that makes everyone want to off themselves, quit while they're ahead. I know nothing, pretty much. So if this is very jarring, it's because I don't know, it's not my thing. I am tone deaf. I have a very limited range. It was not meant for me, but it is meant for other people, and it's very fascinating to hear people speak about. But anyway, it will not be fascinating to hear me speak about it because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Let us continue. He quickly took the starting pose as his foot tapped along. Right, it started off slow, but the next part coming up would definitely require a lot of dexterity. Now that he was in the middle of it, though, he wasn't worried at all. The world was his stage, and he was born ready for this. As soon as the lyrics started, he flawlessly snapped into pose after pose, as if it was instinct. I will make a confession that I did start off this fic adding names of Undertale soundtrack titles into the fic, just like as a little nod. He. I did debate putting Death by Glamour here, but that was way too on the nose, and by this point I had abandoned it. His hand dramatically darted into the sky in sync with the avatar on screen, and just seeing the bubbles of dialogue pop up with comments of great and perfect only further fueled him. He could feel the adrenaline pulse through him, pumping up his ego. Not only that, he could see from the screen that this wasn't an elaborate prank pulled by Azzy to watch him make a fool of himself from the sidelines. The guy was actually right beside him, doing the same stupid steps as him. His heart swelled and his breath hitched. There's no way he could possibly lose. Azrael Dreamer, eat your heart out. However, the avatar on Az's side was also not losing to him, as it skillfully went through a flash of hand signals. Just as the singer shouted the signature catchphrase, the choreography deviated, with Burger Pants doing a lead blow, while Azrael's was a reverse. He added extra flair to his movements, easily jumping from a kneeling posture into one upright, swinging his arms in a wide arc with a sharp halt. And one really couldn't go overboard with tokusatsu style. Tokusatsu. Power Ranger style. It's Power Rangers, y'all. It's Power Rangers. I don't know if there's a genre in English, so we are keeping it as it is. Let's go. The two stood back to back and bounced to the beat as if they were fighting off a horde of enemies. He didn't know what came over him so suddenly, but Burger Pants began laughing out loud. He was tickled pink. This was actually really fun, and a lot more enjoyable than he envisioned. Such a natural high was nearly addictive, and, as if it really was contagious, Azrael too started laughing, slipping up a little and missing a few moves. To hell with this stupid game. Who even cared? At this point, he was simply having a ball with his buddy. He turned and patted a hand on his friend's shoulder to get his attention, and with only that as warning, Burger Pants boldly began singing the childish lyrics at him, which caused Az to howl with laughter. Burger Pants didn't falter, though, as he carried on with a barrage of stupid poses, swinging his hips stylishly. Before he knew it, Azrael caught his breath, mirroring his movements, and joined in singing along with the chorus. They weren't even looking at the screen anymore. This outlandish display became a performance just for them to enjoy. Only they could enjoy it. And it surely was a sight to behold. 2 grown men were playing the most childish song on a rhythm game, while staring at one another with the most deranged smiles, chanting the extremely corny lyrics with the same affectations as if they really were children playing around on the schoolyard. And, in their minds, they had reverted back to their childhood years, no longer aware of what they looked like or sounded to anyone other than their playmate. When the number came to an end, they both finished gaudily in their Icarus Ranger poses, with their 2 controller-fitted fists clasped in a tight handshake, as if they were pairing up to join the fight of good against evil. The score that flashed on screen was absolutely abysmal, but the score in their hearts had risen up substantially. Burger Pants was obviously winded and breathing hard. His body was still trembling from the adrenaline rushing through his veins, and he couldn't help but let out a staggered chuckle. He leaned into his best friend for support, and Azrael, who was too caught up in the mood, brought him closer in a one-arm embrace, allowing him to rest on his shoulder as much as he wished. "It seems like we have some chemistry after all, don't you think?" That phrase lit up a light bulb in his mind. Physical chemistry. So this is what it meant to Azrael. The way physical connection was phrased made it seem like Az was asking for something dirty and shameful, something that was to be done under the table. Burger Pants refused to take the blame for this misunderstanding. It was 100% that guy's fault. But how does one go about naming that carefree frivolity they always had as children, running around over here and there, climbing and jumping off whatever they could, getting in trouble by giving in to every whim that struck their fancy? If it was called physical chemistry, then they definitely did have it. And if Az would have just asked him to go back to their childhood shenanigans, he never would have had any qualms about it. None whatsoever. The wording on these kinds of matters was important. One has to think of the implications. But I think we should work on that stamina of yours. As it is, you'll tire out quickly. And just as the rose-tinted glasses entered his view, they were slapped off his face. His innocent misunderstanding was completely shattered and on the floor. It's all broken and on the floor. That guy really did want to smooch on this face, huh? Well, he couldn't exactly say he understood it, but he had somehow grown numb to the idea. It's not like he was the one losing out in this situation. And, okay, we have this scene. This is a scene where they really start bonding, where they really start accepting the idea of a relationship. And I think we see that with Burger Pants just letting go, giving in to what he wanted to do. And that's exactly what Azrael had been wanting him to do this whole time. Like, if I say it's alright, and it's something that you already want to do anyway, why are you hesitating? Like, let's just go with it. And they do wind up going with it. This is something that Azrael wanted to do before. One of the first scenes we have is Azrael inviting Burger Pants out for karaoke. Well, one, there's a whole thing about Azrael singing. So it's not completely innocent, but we could see that in this scene, Azrael doesn't start singing. Like, he's not the one who starts singing. He only does it after Burger Pants had, and that gave him the green light to go ahead and go with his singing, which kind of helped ease Burger Pants into this state of mind. Like, yeah, actually, I think I do want this. I think this can work out. I think that maybe we might be matched for each other somehow by some possible way. And he's starting to look forward to the future. He's starting to let that sink in, y'all. He's starting to let that sink in. Which is a very loaded phrase. A very, very loaded phrase. Anyway, let us find our place again. Azrael gleefully assisted Burger Pants in removing the controllers while he was caught up in his thoughts, and helped guide him out of the Ute area. Even though they were leaving, the eyes on them hadn't lessened at all. which is no longer bothering Burger Pants because he's so caught up in this high that he had experiencing what a relationship might be like with Azrael. It's kind of metaphorical, I'm just going to throw that out there. And after walking a short distance further, Azrael came to a sudden stop, which woke Burger Pants up from his daze. Before he could even ask what the matter was, he saw Chris standing there, glaring daggers at them. This explains why it took you so long to wash your hands. The dirt really doesn't come off. It was at that point Burger Pants noticed he was still walking hand in hand with Azrael. It was something they did a lot as children, but stopped as soon as they reached the more mature ages. And it had crawled out of the woodwork again just recently. The stigma of it had been wiped completely clean in Burger Pants' mind. But that didn't mean he should be openly flaunting it in front of Squirt. Burger Pants broke Azrael's grasp. "Hey, little buddy! How are you doing? Did you get anything nice?" He chimed with an obviously placating tone, noticing the medium-sized bag in Chris's hand. Chris walked up to him and extended their hand out demandingly. "Ice cream." Ice cream? The nerve of this kid, requesting something that Burger Pants obviously didn't have. Was he his brother's keeper? Or rather his sibling-in-law's keeper? Squirt had absolutely no qualms about putting the burden on others for selfish gains. "We've got things to talk about! The ice cream! First off, from earlier, the scene where they were driving here, we didn't get any clues that Chris was aware of Burger Pants' thoughts, except for maybe at the end where they pretty much break out into a run as soon as the car stops. But anyway, just put up with this for a little while, okay, little buddy? I'll buy you an ice cream later. And now the ice cream came back. Chris fully expects that ice cream from Burger Pants, but to Burger Pants it was just a thought that ran through his head. And then there's also the loaded sentence here about Squirt having absolutely no qualms about putting the burden on others for selfish gains. That will definitely shoot Burger Pants in the foot later on when we learn that Chris had to sacrifice something very heavy for Burger Pants because Azrael asked them to do it. How far do I want to get into spoilers? I mean, don't read chapter 5. Don't read chapter 5. Pretty much a person had to be sacrificed in order to keep Burger Pants alive, I will say. And it was very traumatizing for everyone involved, pretty much, well, except for Burger Pants, who got off scot-free, not knowing about it. Anyway, so Chris never really had great feelings towards Burger Pants to begin with, since Burger Pants was always able to get along well with Azrael, and then we had that event that kind of just, it's not even a wedge between them. It's Burger Pants earlier was talking about immortal enemies and soul hates. That would probably be them. They are very diametrically opposed. They are the ones that really can't get along. Not really on Burger Pants' side as much. He really wants to get along with the family, but that cannot happen for him. He just will not get along with this. Though, it's not so bad. It's not so bad, y'all. Chris knows that Burger Pants means something to Azrael. So while Chris might have some ideas of their own about getting revenge, pretty much, they never come to fruition. It would be pointless for Chris to do anything irrational. "Chris, after we're done here, I had plans to take you to QC's for some hot chocolate." Ugh, what is his voice? "Are you sure you want to spoil it now?" Chris looked off to the side as if they had been wronged, and Burger Pants jumped in to mend the situation before he could be resented any further. "Ice cream, yeah? They definitely sell some here. Let's go back to the outside pavilion. Actually, after working up a sweat with Azzy like that, I could really use a smoke." And there it was, that awkward silence again. He barely registered what he had said and how off it sounded. "From the game! The video game, okay? Don't look at me like that with your judgmental eyes. I'm innocent, perfectly innocent, I swear. It's your brother who's the rotten one. Judgmental eyes will come back later. Once again, Burger Pants, hits the nail on the head. And we're also, going into, the sticky subject. How do I talk about it without getting too sticky, without needing to wash my hands? Chris has a problem with people being very close to each other. Throughout this whole thing, Chris has had a lot of issues with skinship and contact, even eye contact, Burger Pants knows that holding hands in front of Chris is something that Chris does not want to see. So Burger Pants is kind of a little bit aware that this is making Chris uncomfortable. He isn't fully aware of what makes them uncomfortable. And that sentence he just said, it didn't sound good. So even though he's not saying it out loud, in his mind, he's trying to make amends with Chris, like, don't blame me. I'm not the one who started all this. This was Azzy's idea. Which, of course, Chris can hear. Chris is fully aware of what Burger Pants is thinking. Burger Pants rushed ahead as if he was the one most eager to get the treat. Chris gave a frown to Azriel, who only smiled in kind. Thus all three of them went off on their own way, following Burger Pants' lead, and that was an exchange between Chris and Azriel concerning Burger Pants, and, how much closer Burger Pants is getting to Azriel, which is a bit concerning to Chris, because Chris is very aware of what is going on and what game Azriel is playing. Now that Chris had joined up with them, the atmosphere surrounding Burger Pants and Azriel thinned out. However, there was no mistaking that the air between them had changed. They went from previously standing a couple feet apart because they're not gay, to their shoulders constantly bumping up against one another. They sat so close that their knees were touching, and no amount of murderous looks Squirt could throw their way could wipe that genuine smile off Burger Pants' face. This was actually such a wonderful experience. He couldn't have ever imagined things working out as they did. It seemed like everything went wrong that could go wrong, but somehow it ended up right. He could only thank their lucky stars for bringing them here today. On the ride home, Chris obediently got inside the truck first and smoothly tucked their legs into a crisscross position, thoroughly oppressing Burger Pants. Sorry, Burger Pants. They're just doing it so you don't sit close to their brother. Oh my god, that's it! That's how you avoid the awkward hand situation in a stick shift. Little buddy, I've got so much to learn from the master. Teach me your ways. And your flattery will only get you so far. Burger Pants got in the passenger side and looked at the scenery as it passed them on the way home. Maybe it wasn't so bad that he'd gotten himself into this mess. In fact, he thought that perhaps, if he had known things would work out like this earlier, he would have immediately accepted that night. Why would he hesitate? Knowing what this sweet intoxication felt like now, he definitely would have grabbed Azriel's hand sooner. But at the time, he never would have believed that he was looking forward to kindling a relationship with his best friend. In fact, that fact still somewhat caused him to hesitate. It made him feel like something was definitely wrong with his head. That's right, Az had been egging him on so much that it scrambled his brain. It was definitely that weirdo's fault. Well, since Azzy was the one to blame, he was the one who was going to have to take responsibility for whatever happened next. Now that Burger Pants was pleased his punch, he was no longer going to hold back any punches. Azriel gave out a soft giggle seemingly to himself, and Chris started digging inside their bag to pull out their treasure. It was a knife! Chris really did buy a knife at the con? How? What vendor would possibly be allowed to sell such a young kid a weapon? Undertale. It appeared to be real, too. The body was made of metal and it looked especially sharp. It could definitely harm someone, couldn't it? It definitely wasn't just a replica. Not a toy knife. At all. What, did Chris also use Azriel's school ID to get what they wanted? Did they also not need to be guarded because their dad was an ex-cop? What was with this family and their ability to control the whole freaking world? Oh, Burger Pants, you have no idea. Chris held the unsheathed dagger, blade side down, and lifted it up as high as the truck's ceiling would allow, staring menacingly at Burger Pants' direction. Again, Chris being able to read not only Burger Pants' thoughts, but also Azrael's thoughts, and Chris has a couple thoughts of their own about the matter. I sacrifice this virgin to you, O Baphomet! Before Chris could swing down, Azrael placed a hand on their head, causing them to halt. Sorry, Chris. This virgin is mine to sacrifice. Burger Pants' pupils shrunk, and he instantly felt the flesh on his skin melt his brain. What was that supposed to mean? Was Azrael making fun of him because he was still a virgin, or staking a claim on said virginity himself up front? Inquiring minds needed to know. Also, how could they dare say such a thing in front of Squirt? Oh, my apologies. I misspoke. Chris, I think you've gotten your point across. Their point across, yes, definitely. A very sharp point indeed. A point so sharp it could indeed pierce the flesh. That kid seriously had no chill. Chris looked away and slowly put the dagger back in the sheath and into the bag. They looked so disappointed their pouting face was almost a little cute. Almost. It would be cute if it hadn't been so terrifying. And yes, it is a nice, cute scene loaded with all kinds of baggage. We have here Chris being disturbed by Azrael's and Burger Pants' thoughts, Chris knowing what Azrael is up to, Chris being a knight. One of the knights. There's not just one knight, there's not just one angel, there is a whole mess of things in this world that I pulled out of my butt. So yes, Chris is actually what I'm calling a Knight of the Templar, which if you know anything about that, they worshipped this half man, half goat deity called Baphomet. Which is actually used in other religions, but I'm not going to get into that. For our purposes, Baphomet is pretty much the ideal form for Chris. Not human, not monster, not male or female. Someone who strikes balance. The judge. And, if I were to have, continued this world, I think that's what Rousey would have been. Not Azrael, obviously, but more like Chris's ideal projection of what Baphomet would have been like, but used to torture them. Like, this is their ideal form, but it's not a form that they can have, and it's not even really a form that they can interact with, or at least interact with on a good level. It's more like that Rousey Baphomet would be like their arch enemy. Anyway, Chris knows of Azrael's intentions, and when monsters die, when monsters are sacrificed, you sacrifice the body and not the soul. So Chris is sacrificing the body up to their god and not the soul, which Azrael could take and pretty much do whatever he wanted with. But that is not in Azrael's plans, especially not right now. Which Burger Pants not having a body would definitely suit Chris's plans. Definitely suit their plans right now, because the whole body thing is really off-putting to them. But Azrael really wants to lean into this development that they have going. So we are moving on. Let's move on. We are going to move on. Oh, and poor Burger Pants. He hadn't even thought... He still isn't quite sure what a relationship would mean with them. Oh, poor Burger Pants. He is so sweet. I love him so much. He is my darling little girlfriend. My waifu. I love you so much, Burger Pants. Mwah. Oh, yeah, I meant to say something earlier, but it's okay to just drop me off home from here. I don't want to get in the way or anything. You two have a good time at the diner. I understand. With that, Burger Pants hugged his arms to his chest and went back to watching the scenery outside and my reporting. Pitch. Yay. Thank you, Pitch. It's sad that things had to end like this. Resonate on such a sour note. But there was no way he could explain what happened back then and why he couldn't set foot in QC's anymore. Besides, Az was leaving. Even though he wanted to stick to that guy's side and be with him day and night, there were others who felt the same way, such as Chris. How would Squirt feel knowing that Azriel was going off to college? Surely, even if they didn't get along perfectly all the time, it must be difficult. They were always together, had always been together. Having their brother suddenly missing? Well, he could relate to what that felt like. Yeah, that's right. He and Chris, they were already like family. They shared a major important figure in their lives. He joked that Squirt was his sibling-in-law, but it really did feel like they were siblings after all. Whenever Azriel leaves, Burger Pants should definitely take care of them. He promised Az, after all. And here we get a couple things. We get Burger Pants' thoughts, which Chris can read. And we also, which doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go anywhere. I already knew where this fic was ending. I don't know why I have so many layers in this cake when it's a 2-layer cake. And we also have the thing that happened with QC's. Burger Pants does not know what happened. Burger Pants thinks that everything is his fault, and he ruined it, and he absolutely ruined his reputation in front of QC's, and QC's is going to freaking whack him if she ever sees him ever again. This is actually Azriel's fault. Azriel did not want Burger Pants to get a job in Hometown, because if he got a job in Hometown, Burger Pants would have a role in Hometown, and Azriel did not want, Azriel wants to leave Hometown, so that roles don't, hold them down. I got a text message. And roles sound delicious right now. I'm sorry, I got a text message, and I completely blanked out on what I was saying. Azzy, it's been a real blast. I had a great time. We should hang out sometime soon. When they stepped out of the vehicle, Azriel got out and walked him to the door, leaving Chris to fend for themselves. The cast, the music, and the lights had all been cut. They'd made their curtain calls and bowed out from the stage. The only thing left to do now was bid each other good night and go inside. That's most likely why Burger Pants stood around nervously. He didn't want the day to end yet. I really hope we get to spend a lot more time together this summer. I look forward to it. Before Azriel could slip away for good, Burger Pants grabbed his arm. Don't leave me waiting for long, all right? It wasn't easy for me to, you know. Azriel chuckled and kissed him on the cheek. Don't worry. I have a feeling that our fun times this summer are only beginning. Burger Pants stood stunlocked as Azriel grinned at his stupefied expression and skipped back into the truck. He could do nothing but stand there dumbly with his hand on his cheek, as if trying to capture that feeling so he would never have to let it go. They were really doing this. They were actually going to cross that line. He could still feel the warm rays of the setting sun and Azriel's lips both lingering on his skin. Their fun times were just beginning, were they? He could hardly wait. Yay! All right, do I have anything to say about that? No, it's pretty much, I think that part was pretty much self-explanatory. Azriel and Burger Pants now mutually are looking forward to starting this relationship. They're finally on the same page about this. Alright, so that is chapter 4. We do have a chapter 5, which I am scrolling to, and you can't see because I'm not recording video. But we do have a chapter 5. Skip chapter 5. Don't read chapter 5, please. Thank you very much for watching, and bitey bye!